Frank, tell Fee what she can do now.
I'm just gonna send it over to you then.
I'm gonna send it back to you. I'm kidding. I'm joking. Fee, we're now moving on to segment 3 with the pitch. The pitch. Go ahead, Fee. Tell us what you were pitching.
I'm here with you guys. All right. So, I know a lot of you thought I was going to take my first opportunity to do the pitch by talking about an anime. That is not the case. I'm actually going to talk about one of my favorite games, which is called Papers, Please. Developed and published through his production company 3909 LLC. Lucas Pope released his fan favorite game, Papers, Please, on August 8th, 2013. Yes.
I did not see the last name, and I just saw Lucas, and I thought it was Lucas, and I was like, Lucas made a video game?
If he made a video game, he is holding out, because this game did very, very well and is currently still doing incredibly well. It was... I have taken essentially the write-up that they had on the website and mixed in my own spice throughout it. But to kind of set the scene, the communist state of Arostroska has ended a 6-year war with the neighboring Kolchia and has reclaimed its rightful half on the border town Greshton. You play the game as a newly appointed immigration inspector at the border checkpoint of the fictional country of Arostroska in the year 1982, after winning a job through the work lottery. Using only the documents provided by travelers and the Ministry of Admission's primitive inspection, search, and fingerprint systems, you must decide who can enter Ostroska and who will be turned away or arrested, while avoiding letting people in, such as terrorists, wanted criminals, smugglers, and a guy who drew a passport with crayons. You'll be faced with daily moral dilemmas, obstacles, and just making it through the day by not getting blown up by a terrorist and being able to kind of debate if you actually want to feed your family or pay the bills for electricity. And there are multiple other options. There's actually 20 different endings to the game, depending on what you specifically decide to do. It is honestly a lot of fun. Also, as you need to say, glory to Ostroska, which is said constantly throughout the game. Questions that I'm currently receiving. One, yes, there are butts in the game because you do have to do full body scans. You do have an option.
Butts?
Let's
fucking go.
You can specifically select if you want to have nudity or not. And you have to do full body scans, specifically checking to see if they have any illegal drugs that they have not claimed, or if they have any weapons on them, to avoid any sort of attacks, because during your stay as the administration, essentially the officer there, you'll deal with people trying to shoot down the guards, blow up the guards, blow you up, shoot you down, completely take out the entire government of Ostroska, and a bunch of other things. But yeah. Can you flirt in the game? Yes. Not really. There's people who work at a Lady of the Night bar in Greshton, and they constantly are coming over the border. There's that. Also, honestly, it's a really quirky game. I'm gonna continue to talk about the game, but honestly, I really enjoy it. It's a lot of trying to take information that's provided to you and figure out if they're allowed to go into Ostroska, or you have to turn them away. After a certain point, you can actually detain people, and that gets you a little of extra money on the side, and you might have to deal with some occult members who might be, specifically an organization that's trying to take down the Ostroskan government because they feel like they're the government of Ostroska is being unjust for the most part. And each day you get a piece of paper that kind of gives you details on who you need to accept or who you deny, what pieces of paper everyone needs, and kind of going back. And it's a lot of fact checking, and I honestly really enjoy it. Unfortunately, guys, this is not a dating simulator. You cannot choose your sexual orientation, and you are a faceless character. But yeah, it's
Oh,
a
even
lot.
better.
Yeah, your
All
genderless
I know
character.
that.
That's good.
You
all I know
can't.
is
You don't unlock anybody. You are just this person.
Pass.
You are
No
a black dot that
gender,
walks across
goals.
the screen.
There you
all I
go.
know is everybody's gangsta until somebody pulls a gun out of their booty hole.
Oh my god. Either way, it's a really fun game. I honestly would recommend it if you do enjoy like puzzle games and kind of just trying to like deal with kind of moral dilemmas, because there are certain situations where you're just like, should I allow this person into the country or not? For example, one of the first dilemmas that you have to deal with is a man comes to your booth, gives you the correct papers, and says, my wife is behind me, please let her in, or she's going to die. And she comes into the booth, she actually doesn't have the correct papers, and you have to say either if they get in or not. Why is Mario laughing at this?
Mario's a
this is
horrible human being.
terrible thing to be laughing at. This is a terrible thing to be laughing at.
I'm sorry.
The woman's just trying to
Anyway.
get in.
Frank
The
came
woman's
out of
just trying to get in.
Frank came out of pocket with a comment that I wasn't ready for.
So ignoring those two goofballs,
Yes.
I remember the first time you talked about this game when you first got it, and I was really intrigued. I am definitely sold, especially since you're a genderless dot, because that's my life goals. So I'm definitely gonna have to check this out, and I'll report back next week because this is
Oh, I'm playing
such
this
a
tonight.
sly game.
I'm playing this
Good.
tonight.
You're playing it on stream?
Yeah, I'm gonna play this game on the
Oh,
stream
fuck.
Oh my
tonight.
god. Harv.
Are you okay, Fee? Are you okay?
I am so excited. I'm gonna totally check out your stream because, like, honestly, it's a really fun game. I actually first played it back in 2014. Like, I played it like around like a year after it came out. I'm not expecting to like it as much as I did, but I think I sat down and played through the entire game in one sitting. I think that was about 10 hours. So I was, I was invested from point one, but it plays really well. I honestly, like I said, I wasn't expecting to enjoy it. That's what happens with a lot of video games. I don't expect to enjoy them, and then I play them, and I'm like, man, this is it for me. But
I
yeah.
watched Fee play this while we were quote unquote working, and
I was not working.
no,
He
you
was
were
working.
off. Yeah, you were
I
off.
think
Yeah.
you're tiny tailing on yourselves on a podcast, but all right, go ahead.
Right.
And I was doing my work, and then I just like looked up because she was sharing her screen. I was just watching it. I was like, this game. First, I think I was shit talking the game first. I don't remember.
I think
I
you were.
probably was.
Probably.
And then it's kind of like what happened with the circle, where I just started shit talking a little bit, and then I was like, man, all right. And then did I make this comment on podcast last time, or was it before, or some other where
else,
where you get to detain people?
You said it on your you said it during your stream.
Yeah. Where I get to be the detain. I get to detain people now.
Oh yes.
Wait, no, I think that was on the podcast.
That was-
It's
that-
more
yeah.
fun.
On
The
the
joke is
podcast,
more
yeah.
funny. The joke is more funny when you have a beard.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair because you know.
But yeah, it's. I think it was really impressive. My God, I do really enjoy the game, and if you want to try a game slightly like this, that's a very like smaller version. He does actually have a game that was the inspiration to Papers, Please on his website. It's called Unsolicited, where you play essentially as a person that, like, you know, those stupid ads that you get in the mail that they're just like, you can like support charity, here's a signature and like your name and stuff like that. Like, you have to fill out those papers and then send them off, and if you do it incorrectly, your character crumples up the paper and throws it away, and then you have to redo the paper, and it actually times you while you do it. So it kind of gives you a kind of quick introduction to what you might be expecting. You're not filling out papers in Papers, Please, shocker, but you have to like cross-reference. So you have like a passport, an identification card, and by the end you have a you have a passport, an identification card, a polio vaccination sheet, a sheet that allows you to go into the country with all your pieces of like information. And if you decide that you're going to be like, if you're coming in to be a diplomat, you also have other papers, and you might need to have X, Y, and Z, and one particular day they might not be accepting people from one country because they bombed you the day before. Like, there's a lot of things rotating out. Also, you have to keep an eye on for things like there's
Booty
a
guns.
most wanted list. There's 3 most wanted people, and if you let them in, sometimes they kind of like take out the guards around your actual station, and you have to keep out an eye out for people actually bombing your area. And at the end of the game, you get really cool things like a gun. Pew pew. So pew. But yeah, that's one of my that's my recommendation game. Honestly, guys, I think it's like $12 on the store right now. If I'm right or wrong, I know it was on sale last week, but it's a really fun game to get into. Glory to Ostroska. If you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. But other than that, yeah, that's my game selection.
Very
I
nice.
know I'm
A little
joking,
sad
but I
it's
legitimately
not
have
gay,
a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Um,
I'm sorry.
Are there actually booty guns? Like, does that happen? You
Like
miss a
guns in the
cavity
booty.
search.
Like guns actually in the booty.
Like
No.
guns up the
Like,
butt.
like
okay.
if somebody, if you miss
No.
a cavity search, and somebody pulls out a gun,
Well,
does
like,
it come
okay,
from the booty?
Papers, Please
example.
is $11 Canadian.
so that
So
means
it
it's
must be
like
cheaper.
$9 American.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Oh
This is-
yeah.
This is always the game. Okay, so I will say I've been always wanting to play this game since
Yeah.
I heard about it, like actually on the Rooster Teeth podcast because Gus was talking
Yeah.
about it. But I always wanted it to be like the humble bundle game that I get that just like is given to me. So
I don't think it will be.
Oh man, yeah.
At this point,
But if you have the money to spare, definitely go and buy it. There is another game that actually came out recently that's kind of like the game, and it's called Not Tonight by another developer, and you play as a bouncer in the UK after Brexit. So you have to like accept and deny people, you have to allow the VIPs in, you go through a list, you have to check IDs, you have to cross check like the actual time and everything else, well the date, to see if they're overage. And yeah, this particular game, Piper's Please, got a huge resurgence recently because Markiplier's been playing it. Which I assume is probably why they probably put it on sale, because he started a new playthrough and is getting like millions per episode. And honestly, I just enjoy watching people because you have to get going through the moral dilemmas. Some people are like, oh, I have to let those people in, or there's other people. And I'm going with the bigger names because those were the ones that I saw recently. Was like Jacksepticeye played it through twice, and every single time he detains everyone. If he can detain someone, he's clicking that detain button. Even if it's like super sad, he's like detained.
Can
He's
you
like,
only
I
do
need
that
to
way?
make
going
them
to
money.
jail.
Detain.
Tell me there was a short film.
Yes, there is a
Short
10-minute short. Yes. I
I'm gonna
apologize.
watch that.
There is a 10-minute short film. Highly recommend it. It was not made by the people who made Papers, Please. It was just a small indie film group that made it, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And it actually talks about the dilemma that I talked about earlier on. So yeah,
It is $10 American, and I am purchasing it now.
yeah, the music will get stuck in your head, as a heads up, and yeah.
Fee, what was this? What was the second game you mentioned?
You mean the paid one or the free one?
You said there was like
The bouncer one?
There's
was
not
like a spiritual
today.
successor.
There's a virtual like predecessor, unsolicited.
Okay, because I have a suggestion for you.
Yeah, what's up?
There is a game out that is coming out in Q4 of 2021 this year. Called Contraband Police, and it is basically Papers, Please, except first person, and you can actually like interact with the cars and people and stuff like that.
I will play it. Yeah,
I will
I'll
play.
definitely-
I would like to play this game.
Yeah, it kind
Papers,
of gives
Please, or
me.
Contraband Police?
Papers, Please.
All of
Oh
the
yeah,
above.
Papers,
yeah.
Please.
Well, there's games as well like This Is the Police and This Is the Police 2 that I really enjoyed. I didn't get too far into This Is the Police 2, but This Is the Police. Not specifically because it was police related. It was the fact that like you have to figure out and think like, okay, is this actually a correct call? Like, should I send like 3 people to the supposed like shooting in this like down the street from this older woman, and then you find out it was just firecrackers from some kids that she didn't like and she wanted to call the police on them, like stuff like that. And then you have to kind of juggle that way. That's a little bit different, but it's a game that I enjoyed because of the storyline that didn't include what certain things are. But yeah, it's
the funny thing is, Contraband Police is also based in a communist country.
Okay,
it's basically
I'm
Papers,
sold.
Please in first person.
I think it's the safest thing to do is be like, yeah, let's put it in a communist country.
Well, I mean, yeah, Ostroska is like, obviously it's based in like Eastern Europe. Like it does, like obviously Ostroska isn't actually a place, but you kind of get that kind of vibe during that particular era. And yeah, I sit down and play for hours. Like I've been playing the endless mode recently. I'm not actually playing the story mode because the story mode is timed and you have to there's a lot more structure to it, whereas endless, like, you don't have a timer on it and you can just look over the papers. Because right now I'm playing the hardest difficulty for endless. And I think I made like 2 hours.
Should I do story first, or should I just go endless and go to the lowest difficulty on endless and then work my way
do
up?
story mode first. Because then you can get introduced to it. I just recommend like endless because you it gets you really into the mindset. Also, it's a lot easier when you first start off. And yes, there is a timer to it, but it allows you to kind of have that, like, I'm only looking for people from Ostroska the first day. Like, you're only going to be looking for those people. And then people get mad because you're like, that's not ethical that you're only letting people from Ostroska. So then you're like, okay, I guess I'll let people in from other countries. And then you start doing that, and then they add it gradually. Endless is good if you want to, like, kind of throw yourself in there and have to juggle multiple things at once. But I feel like if you do those first and then go into the game, you might feel like, okay, this is relatively easier than I thought it was going to be, but it ramps up. And then they add more to it.
Call you out because Steam says you've played 9.6 hours in the last 2 weeks and 22.4 hours total. And then I clicked on the all friends who have played this, and Lucas has 52.3 hours in this game, which is incredible.
Yeah, and that was when I played it because it was on his profile first, and then I bought it. Yeah,
that's even better.
Yeah, I think I played probably like half of the time. So yeah, in total about 50 hours on the game, just because I enjoy work like that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I will one day play that game when someone decides to give it to me, because $9 is too much. It's too much money. It's just too much. I'm joking. This is a terrible joke.
I could barely pay for food on a regular basis, and I just bought it.
How many coffees did you buy this week?
I was about to say,
one.
How much was that coffee?
This coffee was $5.
That's a big.
That's almost a paper please.
That's half of a paper.
It's half of a paper please.
Yeah.
And speaking of paper please,